Well, you just got back.
Here regularly.
Good morning and welcome to the March 18th meeting of the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Commission. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Adams.
Here.
Commissioner Garpetian.
Here.
Commissioner Tornick. Commissioner Sinanian. Commissioner Devine.
Here.
Commissioner Wiggins.
Here.
Commissioner Madison.
Here.
Commissioner Selvidge.
Here.
Thank you.
Can you also rise and pledge allegiance? Put your hand over your heart and repeat with me. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have approval of the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. A public comment, do we have?
Yes, we do. First of all, we have Stacy Slichta.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to see everyone this morning on Monday. I was here a couple weeks ago. Didn't know the meeting was canceled. I'll cover that near the end. My name is Stacy Slichta. I am a resident of Studio City, a PTA board member, member of Upper LA, and a Carpenter Community Charter school parent. My purpose of speaking to you today is to help protect those that can't, our children. I'll break my comment down into 3 different points for you. What we're dealing with today, what information that I've been able to gather that is available through the Burbank Airport website, the FAA, and data collection through our air noise buttons, and then the requests that I have for you, the commissioners of the Burbank Airport. What we're dealing with today. Since the beginning of the school year 2018-2019, Carpenter Community Charters, one of the many schools in the San Fernando Valley, have been victims of the increased air traffic of the Burbank Airport. This information has been released to the public, by the information that has been released to the public by the FAA and the Burbank Airport indicates that NextGen will be implement a waypoint that is a near 100 feet away from Carpenter Community Charter. That waypoint, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with, Jayte. And it's also a stone's throw away from Bridges Academy. I'll not go into the effects of Bridges Academy at this comment period, but we'll come back and give you that information at a different meeting. Along with the waypoint, a stone's throw away from these schools, both parties have stated that the flight path hasn't really changed out of the Burbank Airport. I will, for the sake of time, step aside from this and just look at the here and the now of what is going on and what we have experienced at Carpenter Community Charter in January 2019. I'll also note here that Commissioner Ross Selvidge and Commissioner Terry Turnick have stated that there has been a change, and I've supplied the reference document in the packet that I have given to, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Terry Williams.
To Terry Williams. Students, faculty, and parents have also drawn pictures and written letters to help you understand what they have been dealing with. I wanted to send you all of these pictures and all of these letters prior to me coming here, but I couldn't find any of your email addresses, unfortunately, to forward you all of these documents. And due to the volume of the letters and the documents, I chose not to waste piles of paper and gallons of ink, so I've chosen a few to represent the community in the packet that I've also given to her. I'll now read a letter from one of the Carpenter Community Charter special needs teacher as well as a parent at Carpenter, which is in your packet. To whom it may concern, I am writing you today to voice my concerns with the new flight paths and how they have affected my family, along with the colleagues and students at the schools that I work at. My husband and I have lived in Studio City since we got married in 2016. I have lived in Colfax Meadows area of Studio City since that time. We have 2 beautiful sons and have lived there all of our lives. They both attend Carpenter Community Charter School. I am extremely concerned with the increased number of planes that are flying over our home, our son's school, and the school that I teach at. The frequency with which these fly over has greatly increased. Not only are there more planes flying overhead, but they are flying incredibly low. While there are obvious concerns with the increase in noise in our neighborhood, we're even more concerned with the health impact it has on the area. It is impossible to think.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. I will let you read that entire comment in your packet. The students were victims for over 1,245 planes under 3,000 feet in the month of January 2019, a total of 19 days from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. That's an average of 65 planes per day, 5 planes per hour. This information is also in your packet. According to NASA and reported by the New York Times, 25% of the pollution is caused by takeoff and landing under the 3,000-foot mixing level, which you're all aware of. So Carpenter students, because of your airport, were affected 1,245 times in the month of January. That's your effect from your airport. This is happening every day to
Thank
those
you.
children. Am I done?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Next, we have Roy Wiegand.
Good morning. I'd like to start with an apology from the folks here in Burbank to our friends in Studio City for what you're going through over there. I don't feel like we're being very good neighbors, which ironically is one of our slogans here, is to be a good neighbor. We'll try to do better, and I hope you will help with that. I was here a couple of months ago, and I apologize I haven't been able to attend since. I brought up a couple of points then. I don't know if I haven't gotten any answers, at least on the website. And the last speaker brought up a very eloquent point that I asked about a couple of months ago, and also at City Council, and they were kind of dumbfounded. This doesn't exist. It's called a group email. That exists for the City Council. Again, I'll repeat that like I did last time, but a group email would be very, very helpful for us to be able to reach all of you. And again, maybe you've taken care of that, and I don't know, or we don't know. I didn't find anything about that recently on the website, so please enlighten us on that. Seems like a logical, very logical thing. The number of flights, we're very alarmed as neighbors what's going on in the next few months. We know we have over 80 or so new flights in the last few years. In spite of somebody from the Airport Authority, I remember this clearly, coming to Burbank City Council a couple of years ago saying that they didn't see much growth in the future. We've had 80 weekly flights added in the last couple of years. We have 46 weekly coming online, if I have my numbers correct, please correct me if I'm not, in the next few months alone. There's a lot of concern about the growth that we thought wasn't going to happen. We're not even talking about the new terminal yet. That's a whole other subject. Also, last time I was here a few months ago, I did ask about the fleet, the exact numbers of what's in the fleet. It should be readily available. I haven't been able to find that, and maybe I'm amiss and missed it. Please enlighten me on that. But I did ask then, when were the older models taken offline, the jets, and what were they replaced with, and when did that happen? Like the eloquent speaker before me, we're seeing a big difference in noise levels. Again, I know that has to do with elevation, but also bigger, heavier planes, and that should be public knowledge. And I'm sure it is, but again, ease of access would be much appreciated on that point. Okay, I think that was mainly all my points today. But yeah, the group email, just to reiterate that one more time, please, that would be a very helpful thing. Not everybody can make it here on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. We do appreciate the opportunity. Okay. Yeah, okay. Do you want to say something on my time?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm going to hand over my whatever time I have left, if I do, to this lady. Thank you for your time today. Can't do that?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right.
She needs to be heard. I mean, she needs to be heard, guys.
Thank you.
We've got one shot here, guys. She needs to be heard. She needs to be heard, honestly. Please. Let her go up there.
I just,
Hear her.
am I on? With regard to the group email address, I think most of us know that the Brown Act prohibits bodies like ours from communicating other than in public meetings, and I know often group email addresses are disfavored because they invite reply all, which then runs potentially afoul of the Brown Act. What I would suggest is that Mr. Hadenacher or Mr. Miller provide their email address, and if any member of the community wants to communicate with this commission, I think you're pretty good about getting to us.
We
right
do have
away.
a group email called Answers, and when there is one that is addressed to the commissioners, we do forward that. We do forward that onto the commission. So we have something in there. We've always had it, and it's not just for complaints or issues. It's for any communication to the commission.
What's the email?
It's answers@bur.org. It's
Can you
listed
just
on our
repeat that
website.
and make sure that-
It's
yeah,
listed on our
repeat that so
website,
the
and we'll
folks
get
know.
it out again.
Pardon?
We'll get it out to the public again.
Okay, but if you could just repeat it again right now, slowly.
Answers@bur.org.
Answers,
@bur.org.
so the word answers with no punctuation followed by the word answers?
No, sir.
Okay. No?
Yeah, answers, 2 words together, @bur.org.
Thank you.
A previous speaker would like to make an additional comment. You're welcome, but not too long, love.
I'll be brief. Thank you. Okay. Well, I wanted to say two things that over the last 2 weeks, I've had the wonderful opportunity to speak with 2 of the board members at LAUSD and their director of public health and their environment, and we had a nice meeting, and I'd be happy to talk to you about the conclusions that they came to and the investigations that they're doing at the LAUSD school system in the effects of the airplanes going over the children. So if you'd like to speak with me about that, I'd be happy to inform you and have Scott Schmiernick and Sylvia Martinez present at that meeting as well, because they're spearheading that along with Pat Shernan. I'd also like to make a point that let me think, sorry. Compared to last year at this point, the complaint percentages has risen to your airport 244,000% from last year at this time. So I think that's something that really needs to be looked at. And in conclusion, I would really like to sit down and have a meeting with you and discuss the impacts that are happening to the children, because they can't speak for themselves.
Thank you for your information.
Thank you so much.
Great. Do we have,
Yes, next we have Sue Ellen Wagner.
Good morning, Ann Kimberly Turner. We're a duo. Good morning. I'll try to be quick. The current path of more than 2 years and proposed procedures are destroying our neighborhoods, local businesses, Studio City's film industry, our home values, and our health. The noise and pollution are unbearable, and it's getting worse. We realize there are now new published arrival procedure amendments for a missed approach to runway 8 that actually loop around over the hills. We're attaching a web track exhibit for you showing a departure south over the mountains and a missed approach arrival looping through the mountains at the same time. In fact, last night we had a JetBlue, 1 minute apart, we had a departure by JetBlue and an arrival of another aircraft through the mountains. This is becoming typical and still very unacceptable. So we have departures over the mountains, wind day arrivals over the mountains, missed approach arrivals over the mountains. This adds insult to serious injury. City of Burbank and airport authorities, must be forced to consider the impacts on LA residents, we say once again. You can do more. LAWA, BOAC, met with the FAA for one of their regular meetings in Washington, D.C., and we are told community concerns regarding Van Nuys departure flight path were discussed. LAWA is taking a more active role to move the flight path. You must do the same. Burbank has more jets, larger commercial jets, and therefore the path must be determined before any change in the Van Nuys path. A situation where the Van Nuys path takes a farther northern route and keeps our Burbank flights in the mountains is unacceptable. All of you agree that there is a problem that has to be addressed. And when is your regular meeting with the FAA in DC? Our noise issues must be given top priority, and we hope you will represent them there. Burbank must actively pursue the FAA for a response and cooperation regarding the 175 request. We need a renewed request sent now with more specificity of the requested change. We also want to reiterate the request for a complete breakdown of your air carrier and air taxi fleet, including airline make, model, and passenger capacity. We are fielding inquiries at our website about the 737 MAX 8 and about the recent Southwest operational emergency as mechanics are being pressured to ignore safety protocols. The FAA and Boeing are in hot water, as you are probably aware. Today there's an article in Fortune pointing out that the U.S. Transportation Department's Inspector General is examining the plane's design, or was examining the plane's design certification before the second of the two deadly crashes. And separately, the Wall Street Journal has reported that a grand jury in Washington has issued a subpoena to at least one person involved in the development process of the MAX. And a Seattle Times investigation found that U.S. regulators are delegating much of the plane's safety assessment to Boeing, and that the company is turning in analysis with crucial flaws. The fox is guarding the hen house, and we have to get to the bottom of that. It affects us. We have people writing to us that are afraid that one of those MAXs, I know they're grounded now, is going to land on them, and we are just the right distance away that it would crash into the hills, cause catastrophic fire, kill a lot of people, the rest you can imagine. Do you want to take it from here?
How much time do we have?
You have 5 minutes, beginning with you.
Oh, we have.
Really? Okay.
With you.
Oh,
with
we have 5
Kimberly.
more minutes?
You have 5 minutes.
Oh.
Our time is up.
Oh, I don't know why we have so much time. Okay, great. Talk slower. No. Hi.
You can speak for less if you wish.
Oh, no, I'm kidding. I'll speed it up. Okay, so in regards to, it's not just the MAX 8, it's the fact that there's an operational emergency going on at Southwest by their own admission, and a problem with them pressuring their mechanics. And we do need a fleet breakdown, as others have said. We can't find that anywhere on the websites. Also, just to make one correction, our complaints are up 27,300%, okay? Not, that's not insignificant. That's very dramatic. 27,300% of complaints. Also, contrary to the false information provided by the FAA for the new expanded terminal, growth numbers at Burbank are skyrocketing. According to your own data, with new operations added in March and April, and before the addition of Spirit Air flights, Burbank will have a total of 154,790 seats weekly, which translates to 8,049,080 available seats per year. And the passenger count for 2018 was 5.2 million. That's a potential passenger increase of 3 million seats. And Spirit's rollout in June will represent an additional 328,500 available seats. At the February 19th meeting, Mark Hardiman stated that the complaints filed through our third-party platform of air noise were being published by the airport, please verify that such complaints are also being directly submitted to the FAA. Also, there's a technical problem with WebTrack. We've reported it, but you're no longer able to move the information boxes. They appear directly over the plane on WebTrack. WebTrack's really important for our evidence, and it suppresses us to have that, not working properly. So please talk to your tech guys and get that fixed. Also, you'll be getting this, and there's exhibits in here with everything that I'm talking about. I left them at the seat, but I'll get them to you. Also, you need to find the commercial airlines that violate curfew. JetBlue, I have evidence here of JetBlue at 2:50 a.m. That's unacceptable. I mean, that goes beyond the pale of a delayed flight. 2:50 a.m. and they are loud. JetBlue is incredibly loud. Also, business jets, FedEx, UPS, they should be subject to curfew and use the northern path over the industrial area for departures and arrivals. And we have WebTrack evidence that they can do this. So with the remaining time, I want to do well, not all of the remaining time, don't get nervous, but I want to do a little show and tell because I'll start it now.
Did you have a question?
This is our home. This is Studio City, Hillsides. This is a conglomeration of noise from different members. And this is what we live with on a daily basis. Every 65 minutes, 130 seconds, there's always a constant buzz in the air. We live, this is a reminder, especially to Commissioner Brown, who is constantly saying that the noise is better. Yes, the noise is better in Burbank because
You have 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute. Thank you.
So that's just, as you could see, it's hard to talk over it. It's hard to hear ourselves in our own homes, to do ordinary things it's hard to sleep. It's hard to talk to your spouse or your kids.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, they're exporting the noise from Burbank it is better in Burbank, but not in Studio City and communities. Thank you.
Did you?
Thank you.
Commissioner Devine?
I have a couple of questions from their comments. Was there a JetBlue at 2 a.m. in the morning, or was it?
We'll have to check that with you, ma'am. We don't have the information offhand.
Okay, thank you. Because I know there was one, I received a complaint from someone about a plane at 3:30 in the morning, but it was commercial. And so that's allowed, correct?
If there is
We
a
don't have
mechanical weather delay, the airline is allowed to, they're not allowed to schedule an aircraft operation between the hours after 10 p.m. and before 7 a.m.
Right. Okay. And where are we with the FAA on this issue so far? After
With regard, as Ms. Turner had asked for a meeting with the airlines and the FAA, and that meeting has been scheduled for March 28th.
March 28th. Okay, that's good.
And that is a non-public meeting.
Okay. And my final question is the impact of Southwest grounding their airplanes. How has that affected our airport? How many planes are grounded? How many were removed?
They have 34 aircraft of that type that is no longer in operation. That aircraft, at one time we had 1 or 2 flights a day scheduled with that aircraft. Those aircraft are no longer operating here. they're using their remaining fleet to meet their requirements.
So we just had one or two and?
Per day, yes.
Per day, okay.
Okay. Did you have something, sir?
Yes, sir, thank you. When is our DC trip coming? When is it, our Advocacy Day trip to Washington, DC? We have a trip coming, right?
The ACI
Yes.
conference, that's in the summer.
In the summer, okay.
We just had a meeting in Washington DC about a week and a half ago. That's, I think, the one that you're talking about.
Right, so the perception is that there are things that we can't do and we don't do enough. So my question is, can we get our senators involved, our Congress people involved to, if they have some leverage over FAA, to address this issue sooner than later? I mean, the flight path is not basically in our control. It's not under our control. We don't control that. And obviously there is an issue, and we are going to be hearing about this every week after week after week. So is there a way to get our elected officials in Washington, D.C., as well as Sacramento, to help us if there is a way of doing it?
When we were in Washington on our last trip, we met face-to-face with Congressman Adam Schiff and Congressman Brad Sherman, and in both of those meetings, we did talk about the noise issues. We talked about the efforts we're making with the FAA, the meeting that Mr. Hatanaka just referenced. We talked about that as well as a way of trying to get the information from the citizens to the FAA with the airlines there as well. As we said, it's an opportunity to at least give them some face time. No guarantees on what information comes back as to address what their concerns are. But we are in contact with our congressional people all the time, talking about this issue, and we are reaching out to the FAA. We did write that letter. We continue to make them aware of the issues that are going on here with the citizens, and we'll continue to do that.
And what is the response to this information that's been given to them?
To the FAA or to our congressional delegation?
To us and to FAA. Is contacting them, does it make any difference? Is it making any difference or not? That's what I'm trying to get to.
We're not seeing any specific movement right now. We've also had discussions on initiating a regional workshop roundtable that would include not only Burbank, but Van Nuys and LAX. We are anticipating that happening in the near future. Again, it's an opportunity for the citizens to be able to address concerns in a public forum. We will continue to talk with the FAA. We will continue to explain to them the issues that we are facing here in Burbank, as well as Van Nuys. Van Nuys was mentioned this morning. We know that we are not the only airport in the region that is creating noise in the communities, and we'll continue to push forward and work with the FAA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. Mr. Wiggins?
couple of the speakers talked about the airlines and their fleet mix and so on and so forth. I don't know whether the speakers have been able to obtain a copy of our public agenda, but for instance, this week's agenda, starting on page 44, it talks about the schedule analysis for different airlines. And I guess where I'm going is that we could give the speakers a one-time shot of what is here today. But if you look at how things change, they change all the time. For instance, Alaska, its use of the A320, the B737-900, the RJ700, the Embracer 175, all those are used in the number of seats that they have or are proposed are in the agenda, but it does change. And so it's hard to give a firm analysis of what we're dealing with, because like I say, it changes. And if you look at 44, page 45, American, if you look at page 46 for Southwest, all that is listed there. How many seats, what aircraft, and so on and so forth. But that could change in a week or 2 weeks. The airlines ship things as they see fit. So I just bring that up for the speaker's knowledge.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Shall we move?
Our last speaker is Mike Nolan.
Mike Nolan.
I've got a question relating to what was on staff.
Go ahead, you want to?
You got a question for staff? Yeah, relating to the
Go ahead.
the 800 or the 737-8. Southwest has got about 700 and some aircraft in their fleet, and so this represents about 5% of their fleet that's grounded now until the FAA figures out what is going to be done to resolve those questions with respect to that aircraft. Do we expect that them having 5% of their fleet grounded is going to have an impact on the number of flights we're having out of here? It's a question I don't expect an answer right now. And is that something that, well, since they represent 70+% of our passengers going in and out, how would that affect? This is just a question. Not looking for an answer now.
We'll report back to the commission as soon as we hear back from, if there are any changes by any of our carriers that may be affected by that type of aircraft.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nolan?
Mr. Chairman, Mike Nolan, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I, number one, want to actually acknowledge representatives from Glendale for recognizing that our city council does meet on Tuesday night. And when the meeting at the library was scheduled for that same night, I appreciate that the Glendale people spoke up. It reminds me of Chris Holden, whose father I knew, who also spoke up for us on occasion. My reason for being troubled by it is that I've heard for years, and I was one of the original supporters of the public acquisition of this airport, is that when we talk about the FAA, we never hear a response from the FAA as the public. Never, ever. And yet, when they schedule meetings, I would like to think that you and your staff, as well paid as they are, could let them know that the people of Burbank, who are getting blamed for all kinds of things that we're not responsible for, certainly when we ask to have a meeting at a time other than when our city council meets, there shouldn't be any question. It's a no from us to the FAA. It should never happen. Now, this meeting that's being held on one of the hangars with an address given of Sherman Way. That Sherman Way address doesn't mean a lot to the people of Burbank because Sherman Way is that's not in Burbank. And so what we would hope is that you could, for instance, how about behind the Vallarta Market? People might know where that end of the airport is. Most people from Burbank have never gone out there to park their car, let alone to go shopping. But giving an address on and telling people they have to be there, it's interesting. Have you seen it? It says that we're supposed to be there by 5 o'clock to catch a shuttle bus to the hangar. And then once we get there, we're going to have charrettes. Oh, really? Oh, Miley. Oh, wonderful. Come on. We hire these consultants and pay them darn good money. And what they do is break us up into these little groups so we don't hear the question asked and we don't hear the answer given unless we're in that particular group. And this has gone on and on and on. It happened most recently down at the Pickwick. Charrettes. Oh, really? Come on. We're being blamed. There's people in the audience tonight that are blaming the people of Burbank for noise and problems happening to them. And I want them to know, and I want you to be reminded, we have been complaining about it for a long, long time. But all we hear is, we'll bring it up to the FAA. Our congressman will talk to the FAA. Our senators will talk to the FAA. But we never hear back. And I appreciate your attention. I'm not trying to personally insult the integrity of any of you. I'm trying to implore you to help us a little bit more and a little bit more active. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Back to the calendar, consent calendar, 5. Do we have a vote?
So moved.
So, all those in favor, so aye.
Aye.
6, we're on item 6, commission approval. Transportation,
Mr. President, we'll have Mr. Scott Kimley, your Director of Operations and Properties, to explain this item. Scott?
Commissioners, I come to you today to seek an increase in the Transportation Network Company passenger loading and unloading fee. The TNCs operate at the airport pursuant to an airport access and facility use agreement for Class 8 operators. Currently, each use agreement authorizes the TNC operators to drop off passengers at the curb in front of the terminal and pick up passengers at the portion of the pedestrian island curb designated with 6 TNC spaces. The contract requires the TNC operators to pay a $3 unloading and a $3 loading fee. The contract allows the commission to increase these fees with a 35-day written notice to the operator. Additionally, the contract requires that the TNC operator maintain a geofence around the perimeter of the airport property to track the activity of the drivers. In 2018, the total drop-off and pickup were roughly 1 million. Since the start of the service provided by the TNC operators, use of the service has grown steadily. This rise in traffic is requiring increased traffic management and supervision at the designated areas. With the revised flight schedule, the schedule, airlines have advised staff, it is anticipated that TNC-related congestion will increase. To maintain a level of traffic flow, coordination, and customer service, staff is recommending an increase of the loading and unloading fee for the additional traffic personnel. The total impact with the 50-cent increase will be generating a revenue of a little over $500,000. This will be offset by the additional personnel that we will use to supervise the activities of the TNC operators. Staff recommends to the Commission, based on a 2-0 approval from the Operation and Development Committee, Commission approval of a 50-cent increase to the loading and unloading fee for the TNCs serving at the airport, and authorizes the Executive Director to issue a fee increase notice to the TNCs. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any?
I'll move 6A.
You move? Moved by Mr. Will.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did you want to speak on it, Mr. Salvage?
Well, I have a question after the second. Yes, the fees are now 50 cents per drop-off pickup, and we're talking about going up to $3.50. How do these compare with the rates at other airports in the area?
So right now, LA is currently at $4. The Long Beach is at $3. And Ontario, I spoke to the staff over there, and they're right now going through an analysis of increasing theirs from 3 to 4. They are finding, and their passenger traffic is pretty close to ours. They're finding that they're kind of getting the same congestions that we are. They actually have a waiting lot where they can put the TNCs, similar to what Long Beach does. They are going through and possibly procuring software with the increase to monitor TNCs, to get them off the curb, and to put coordination at the curb. So that would go for the increase of $4. So LA and Ontario is moving to 4. We're going to be at $3.50, and the other two are at 3.
Thank you.
So basically, we're in the pack.
Yeah, we're right in the meeting, yeah.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? It's been moved and seconded that we approve. Give him approval. All say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Item B, 6B.
The next item is was presented to the Operations Committee earlier. It's an amendment to your agreement for self-parking management services and valet parking services, as well as equipment purchase. Mr. Dennis Carville, Mr. Tom Janowitz will be up to make the presentation.
Morning, President Adams and Commissioners. Staff comes to you today with the unanimous vote from the Ops Committee immediately before this meeting. On this, there are three things that we come to you today about. This is the long-awaited parking reservation system, the introduction of that system. It's also the we need to purchase some equipment to enable our parking lots to handle the reservation system. Our valet parking can handle it as is, but the self-park has to have some scanners so that it can read the barcodes from the reservations. And basically this is an enhancement to the level of customer service we're giving to our customers, enabling them to make online reservations, and also transactional pricing. So in other words, so we have these leisure travelers is the latest word, sort of leisure/business travelers, and we're trying to encourage those people to, when they go on a business trip, go ahead and do a bit of leisure at the end of that trip and stay a little bit longer, and therefore be able to give them a better rate on our parking. And then there is no plan whatsoever. So we are capped at 6,637 parking spaces. That remains in place. This isn't about increasing our actual number of parkers at the airport. This is about enhancing the product we deliver to our customers, and also enabling those customers to get a bit of a break if they travel longer or stay longer. So our Senior Manager of Ground Transportation Access, Tom Janowitz, will go through the staff report with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Good morning, Commissioners. At the recommendation of the Operations and Development Committee this morning, staff seeks Commission approval for the following items. Execute Amendment Number 1 to the Agreement for Self-Park Management Services and Valet Parking Services with your parking operator, SP Plus Corporation, to specify implementation and management requirements for an e-commerce platform, as well as to reinforce applicability of SP Plus's indemnification obligations to the e-commerce platform. Also, the award of a purchase order in the amount of $68,624 to Century Control Systems for the purchase and installation of ski data, gate entry columns, and barcode scanners for the pre-booking self-park revenue control equipment. And lastly, to authorize a $10,000 allowance for licensing and development fees to CVPS to allow SP Plus and its subcontractor MAG to connect to the CVPS system used at the airport. Once again, this item comes to you at the recommendation of the Operations Development Committee from earlier this morning. As part of the parking management agreement, SP Plus is to implement and manage an e-commerce platform for online pre-booking services for all the parking products at the airport. In their proposal, SP Plus partnered with MAG, Manchester Airport Group USA, for a future online parking system. The goal of the system is to enhance the authority's parking revenue and customer experience with new state-of-the-art parking products. MAG has expertise in providing and properly managing an e-commerce and revenue management system. MAG operates at 4 airports in the UK, where their e-commerce platforms are being utilized, and their commercial division is working with airports all around the world to implement and operate their parking reservation systems. Their system has had commercial success with proven revenue growth at each of their locations. After evaluating our parking data and environment, their system will be designed to penetrate our longer stay parking durations, which are not generating as much revenue as the short stays. This approach also penetrates other transportation modes to the airport, such as TNCs and personal drop-offs and pickups, converting those customers to parking on the airport. What sets our approach above is that MAG will go above and beyond a regular online parking reservation system. MAG will introduce their parking ecosystem. This sophisticated system uses state-of-the-art reservation platform and a transaction-based pricing tool, and as well as delivers new parking products. Supported by a MAG-developed strategy, the system will use its data analytics tool to set parking product price points with cost and convenience in mind for our customers. The goal is to ensure more traffic is being driven to made aware of the airport's parking products. MAG will also use distribution channels to drive additional traffic to the airport website where you can book parking, as well as establish an online marketing strategy with the assistance of staff and the authority's marketing contractor. The complete package is far more than just a reservation system. It's an entire ecosystem made up of components that's designed to drive up revenue. I'd like to explain in brief how the system works. And if I can't answer some of your technical questions, in attendance today, we have some experts from SP Plus and MAG, as well as our parking consultant. Initially, a customer makes a reservation online via the pre-booking website, which will be accessible on our website. The customer's payment is made at the time of the reservation. The customer can also create an online account for quicker and more convenient booking during their next visit. The customer's booking details are sent to the authority's parking revenue control systems, either CVPS for valet or ski data for South Park. And that's done via an API or application programming interface from MAG. The customer sent a booking confirmation email with a barcode and instructions. The customer uses the barcode to enter the parking lot where they made the reservation and also uses the barcode as a form of payment when exiting the parking facility. The MAG reporting system is available to the Airport Authority's parking operator, SP Plus, who will use the system to access and prepare for online parking reservation activity. A myriad of reports can be run from the system, including daily bookings, daily arrivals, completed transactions, refunds, cancellations, as well as an executive summary report and a month-end report. SP Plus can also look up customers via numerous fields and deal with customer issues directly, such as resending booking information, dealing with refunds, or amending reservation details, should they change. Several meetings were held with SP Plus and MAG. Members of our staff finance and IT department attended, and we learned about this system, and we talked about molding it to the operating environment and our preferences here at the airport. Also discussed in length were data security and operational protocols. Regarding the online system revenue collection, remittance, and fees, MAG will directly collect all revenue generated from the pre-booking system only, then remit parking revenue and taxes, less MAG fees to the authority within 31 days after the end of each month. All remittances will be accompanied by supporting documentation, which is to be reconciled monthly and quarterly by staff. MAG's fees will be based on average stay durations from each parking lot and revenue for fiscal year 2019, the year ending June 30th, 2019. This is called the baseline. The authority will provide the data to establish the baseline. All online transactions at or below the baseline will only be assessed a $1.90 transaction fee by MAG. Only online transactions exceeding the average stay durations and annual revenue baseline will be charged 27% of the total transaction value. This will be paid to the authority monthly, subject to quarterly reconciliations, comparing year-to-date online revenues versus the baseline. MAG will refund any revenues that did not meet the baseline requirements over a quarterly and annual basis. This fee model places the risk with MAG. It does not affect or erode our drive-up parking revenue, as MAG only collects fees for new, longer duration stays from online customers only. MAG's compensation is performance-driven, based on the goal of attracting a new online customer base with longer stay durations above the current average. Typically, customers who go online to book parking would have parked somewhere else without this system in place, so new parking customers are expected. The authority's parking consultant, Steer, agrees with the system's parameters as well as the valet-first approach. Steer will assist in evaluating how the system is working and then assist with the introduction to self-park facilities shortly thereafter. Steer noted that discounting off the drive-up parking price will be available to those who pre-booked, providing many advantages to the airport, including obtaining operational data to compare with off-airport parking, TNCs, and private pickups and drop-offs. Steer noted that longer-term parking stays are our challenge here. This is where we need to go after the market share. MAG's fee schedule protects our short-term stays and incentivizes longer stays. After the first year, a revisit of the accounting procedures and the compensation scheme will take place. Steer believes MAG's approach is aggressive in addressing our needs and that the compensation fees are appropriate. The proposed First Amendment to the Agreement for Self-Park Management and Valet Parking Services specifies the pre-booking parking system implementation and management requirements of SP Plus and MAG, as well as reinforces SP Plus's indemnification obligations to the authority. The proposed amendment reiterates the responsibility of SP Plus to provide annual price reviews, make parking rate recommendations, introduce a dynamic or transactional-based pricing program, development of parking product hierarchies, and development of an overall marketing strategy. It also establishes revenue tracking and payment remittance deadlines, as well as reiterates PCI card payment security compliance requirements. The authority's CVPS valet control system is currently fully compatible with MAG's pre-booking system. However, the authority's self-park system is not compatible and must be modified to integrate with MAG's pre-booking system. Additionally, self-park gate entry columns require barcode scanners, which are compatible to be read by MAG's system. Of the 10 gate entry columns required, 7 will be repurposed from current lots A, C, and E, with new barcode scanners as added modifications to that equipment. The other 3 locations require the acquisition of new columns, which come equipped with the scanners. Also included as part of the ski data integration work is software, customizable data export functionality, and a one-time ski data integration license. Lead time for the purchase and delivery of the ski data equipment is approximately 12 weeks. Staff seeks to acquire this equipment now in preparation to institute the pre-booking system for the self-park lots. In order to integrate, both the CVPS and ski data revenue control systems must be linked to MAG's pre-booking system via an API or application programming interface. This is already accounted for in Century's quote. The cost of implementing the API to the CVPS system consists of a one-time fee of $4,350 plus an annual license fee of $435. A not-to-exceed amount of $10,000 is estimated, depending on any further development work by CVPS. The adopted fiscal year 2019 budget includes $150,000 for an e-commerce booking platform, which will address the cost of implementation for the API integration expenses of the estimated amount of $10,000. And the ski data gate entry equipment in the amount of $68,624 will also be taken from this line item. In moving forward with the implementation of the MAG system, staff seeks approval for the following. The attached amendment to specify implementation and management requirements for an e-commerce platform and reinforce applicability of SB Plus indemnification obligations to the e-commerce platform. Second, an award of a purchase order in the amount of $68,624 to Century for the purchase and installation of the ski data gate entry columns and barcode scanners, and a $10,000 allowance for CVPS licensing and development fees to allow SP Plus and MAG to connect to the CVPS system used at the airport. I can take questions. We also have Jason Finch from SP Plus, who's available to speak as well.
Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of quick questions. Are there any other airports that use the same system?
Yes, I think Austin Airport right now in Texas is looking at that system, not fully rolled out yet. But there's other airports that uses the reservation system only, not the entire e-commerce booking platform. But we're probably going to be the first to do that here.
Okay. And also, all these new software and equipments that we're purchasing to make SP Plus and MAG systems to be compatible, are these something that we can use in our new terminal?
Yes, we could. For the remote lots, absolutely. We can definitely use that for the new terminal parking facilities, yes.
So, you know, our biggest revenue is our parking revenues. I just want to make sure that this is not going to have a negative impact on our revenues, because 27% of longer stays is a big chunk. So I would like to know what is the definition of longer stays. When you mentioned that couple of times, is it 2 days, is it 5 days, is it 2 weeks?
Yes.
What is the definition of it?
So based on 2018 data, which we're not going to use, we're going to use a baseline of 2019 to make the data more real time. And as you know, parking has gone up over the past several months. We're going to average that out. I can tell you some of the average stays that we're seeing last year. Lot A, we saw about 3 days in average stay. Lot C is about 2 days and 17 hours. Lot E is 1 day and 14 hours. Lot G is 1 day and 15 hours. The structure is only 10 hours. And as you know, the short-term stays they make up a majority of our parking revenue. It's the longer-term stays that we're trying to increase.
So if they stay more than 3 days, for example, from the excess days, like the 4th day on, they will receive 27% of that revenue?
Correct, as long as it exceeds the annual revenue baseline as well. It has to meet both criteria. So we really protect that revenue and make sure that it's all new revenue from the online system only.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm probably an outlier, but I wonder, this was discussed at operations this morning?
Yes.
I guess to me, it just feels a little bit like a solution in search of a problem. And obviously, it is going to impact revenue because there's a significant cost for us. So, again, I may not be the user that you're targeting here. What in plain English, what's the problem this is solving?
What we're trying to do is maximize the revenues that you have a limited capacity of 6,637 spaces. We want to maximize the revenue and gain people who are not users of our parking to use our parking facilities and maximize that revenue. Pre-booking has become a added feature that airports in outside of the U.S. have maximized their revenues, and so we're looking to do that here. It was part of the program that was required when we went out for when we bid out the parking service management a year ago, that we have as a component of that new contract moving forward with an e-commerce platform. And so this is the result of that in order to try to maximize that portion, the margin above that we don't currently have.
So is our parking frequently sold out?
No.
So it's not solving a problem for the traveler that if I don't reserve, I won't get parking.
No, that's correct. But it emphasizes the use of the remote lots. For example, the short-term structure in Lot E do fill up during the week. We have a shortage on short-term parking. So it's going to emphasize the use of valet, maybe a discounted rate after a longer duration in valet or Lot E or Lot C.
So really what it is just a flexible pricing mechanism.
We're looking to add that, yes.
So will the vendor make money from this?
27%.
Well, that's for the MAG. The SP Plus, if you're referring, they have a flat fee.
Okay. So what's the 27%?
That is for the percentage of the revenue for MAG if they reach certain conditions that generates additional new revenue for the authority.
So what percentage of the new equipment capital costs is the vendor bearing?
Then that's your equipment. You own it, you keep it, and you can reuse it as you need.
Okay.
Anything else? Mr. Silvers?
Yes, when somebody makes a reservation, now, well, gosh, you covered an awful lot of material. We are hoping that more people are going to be using our lots and staying longer. The new people, we hope, are going to be people who are going to stay longer in the lots. Okay. When somebody makes a reservation under this system, do they specify the expected duration?
Yes, they select a start and end date of their stay.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Dave, did you mention that there was a feature that would give an incentive for people who are down here in Burbank going through the airport on business to stay longer? I didn't quite understand that. You mentioned something like that.
Yeah, so the point of this thing is that we continue to operate and hold on to our existing revenue. That's really the bottom line here, and that's why we used the financial year data that we have, plus the length of stay information we have. So what we're trying to do is create a customer who uses our parking for a longer amount of time. And basically right now, as you heard, our sort of longest stay here is about 3 days. We know there are people who are going out of the airport and staying away longer than 3 days. So what we want to be able to do is adjust the price to give them a discounted price if they stay longer term. The other thing we want to do is, for instance, let's say over Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays, we have our Lot A's and all our outer lots fill up immediately, and we have valet that's doing nothing for the entire time because no one's going to valet. Well, we'll be able to discount the price on valet to encourage people to experience that type of parking environment during those holidays and stuff like that. In other words, to try and shift some of that. So it's a kind of a fill from the top mentality where we're able to offer unused space that we know about historically, and that's a huge part of what part of this contract is, that they are going to crunch numbers and figure out exactly what all this means and how all this works so that they can come up with a pricing scheme that utilizes that parking. So absolutely, we're trying to encourage people to, so if they're going on a business trip, maybe take an extra few days to do vacation and they get a little bit cheaper parking because they're staying longer. And so that's really what it's really about, adjusting our parking to the actual activity that we're seeing.
Okay, so if this all works, then if we take a look back a year ago, we would have a certain profile of length of stay in the various parking lots. We hope after this thing is launched and people get used to using it and all that, we're going to see a profile in which we have a longer average stay.
Absolutely, and we'll be monitoring that on a monthly and quarterly and 6 monthly and yearly basis. And so the idea here is that we'll keep an eye on that, see what's happening, and then be able to make adjustments to that. The authority also has a 30-day out on all of this stuff, so that if, for instance, you guys feel that it's not working when we come and report back to you, there is an opportunity to sort of not continue to do it. Although really, and all the barcode readers and stuff we're getting, they're all cell phone capable. They're able to read cell phone barcodes. So there's a bunch of stuff that we have an opportunity to do with that equipment, regardless of what else we do.
And everybody's expecting that these days.
Correct. That's exactly right.
And so the 20-some% fee is a fee that is earned on revenues from longer stays only, and secondly, only if the total revenue exceeds a certain amount.
Absolutely correct.
Thanks.
Yep.
Did you have a question?
I just want to make a couple of comments. In our meeting, I understand the economic, the business side of this. We have a fiscal responsibility for this airport, but I also had an environmental question, in fact, that I felt it was counterintuitive that we were trying to get people into their cars instead of into alternative transportation. However, as it was explained, there is a cap on the number of cars, so we're not, I don't feel that we're really infringing on that environmental aspect of this. I also asked about the, how long will it take before we know that this is working, that it is financially successful? And I believe the answer was 1 year.
That's correct.
Yeah, 1 year.
1 year. And then I followed with the termination, that if it isn't working, we can terminate. It is in the lease that we can, or in the contract that we can terminate. So we know that we have that to fall back on. So I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Actually, when you mentioned cap on cars, you mean the capacity of our?
Yes, 6,600 parking
yeah,
spaces.
of course.
Yes.
I don't think we ever get
No.
to that point, but
Yeah. Well, we're
and so the question is, today, because we do not have the e-commerce system, that's why we don't have people staying longer, or there's other reason for it?
There's other reasons. There's competitors, there's the TNCs, there's regular drop-offs.
Right,
so this is designed to infiltrate that market.
Right, okay. Look, I'm willing to look at it within a year, but I think we need to be very careful when it comes to our revenues, especially parking. Most people don't know that the biggest revenue we have in this airport, and I was shocked the first time that I was told that biggest revenue that we have is our parking revenue, and we are an airport, so exactly. So
Staff will come back to you with updates on how the system is progressing.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we have to vote on item B, 6B.
I move the item.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're on item
If you
7.
can remain, please. Mr. Genovese will be reviewing the next two items for commission information. These are the parking revenue statistics and the results of the transportation network companies for the month of January.
You got your thing?
Thank you, John. Good morning once again, Commissioners. Staff comes to you this morning to present Authority parking revenue activity for the period January 2019. All lots across the board here, year over year, represent an increase for the month of January, except Lot G. Lot A, up about 3.5%. Lot C was up 5.1%, to $117,000, $117,293. Lot E was up as well, 4.5%. Lot G was down 3.33%. Valet had a slight increase of 0.5%. And the parking structure rose considerably, 12.8%, the largest increase this month for a lot compared to 2018.
Is that because of the rain, do you think?
It could be, yes. That, we definitely see the parking structure Lot E and Lot G, the covered Lot G, fill up in the rain, yes. The total for January 2019 was $1,564,920, an increase of $62,149, representing a growth of 4.14%. Any questions?
Thank you.
Just a comment, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Any comment?
Yes, a quick comment. I think the structure is very popular, and we park there any opportunity we get, and it gets filled up really quickly. So for our new terminal, I think that's something that we need to really consider, to maybe have a larger structure that's close to the facility. So maybe that would increase our parking revenues at that time. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item B,
I'm going to stay up here.
transportation. Same guy?
Same guy. I'm going to present to you TNC activity for the month of January 2019. Activity and revenues. Total TNC revenue was $264,306 for January 2019. Year over year, that's an increase of 27%. Drop-offs for the month totaled 43,229, with almost an equal number of pickups of 44,873. And you can see the breakdown by company on the pie chart. Passenger drop-offs or unloading. You'll notice January 2019 is the blue dot by itself there. We left 2017 data on the chart for your reference, up 27% to 43,229 drop-offs. For passenger loading or pickups, the pickups for January totaled 44,873, up about 27% as well. So once again, total revenue $264,000 for the month of January. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I don't remember if this has been brought up before, but do we have an idea from either Uber or Lyft, which is 99-point-something% of our drop-off and pickup, how much the ticket is for each drop-off and for each pickup?
We could ask them for that information. They provide total monthly summaries, but we can ask what the averages. We'll see.
You're asking about the revenue per average per fare.
Yes, but I just want to clarify. When you said monthly summary just now, do you mean the number of drop-off and picks up or dollar
Correct.
amount? 'Cause I'm asking about. I'm just curious about whether or not what the dollar amount is of an average Uber.
Fare.
Yeah. Drop-off and pickup.
Right. We only know the number of pickups and drop-offs. We charge $3. We're going to charge $3.50, but we don't have that.
I think what Dr. Selvage is asking for, some of the, there are some proprietary things. We can start the inquiry to see what they come back with, if they're willing to share that data or not, but we will try to endeavor to get that for you.
Yeah. If they gave us the average, well, we could figure out what the gross was because we know the number.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious about how the cost, the ticket or the fare for an Uber compares with coming here and spending 2 days or 3 days at lot A, B, C, D, or
Absolutely.
whatever.
I think a lot of people are interested in that, and I think that's what drives their decision, whether to use a TNC or to park. And that's part of what the MAG system is going to do is target that. There's probably a radius that equates to a certain dollar amount for the trip, and then a decision is made by that customer on whether to park or take an Uber.
Yeah, when we're asked to make policy decisions and matters of the cost of parking or the charges and that sort of thing come in, this is a key thing. It's how much does those 80-some thousand people pay on average in lieu of buying it from us in a parking lot.
Unlike a taxi cab that we can get that data from, the PUC regulation doesn't require them to share that information, but we will try to endeavor to get that for you.
Thank you.
Well, also, they use different pricing depending on the type of vehicle.
And the time of day, the demand pricing, and the like.
Yeah.
And they are free, they're not constrained by any regulation on how much they can charge for that demand pricing and the like.
Okay. Everything else? Next item is C.
Mr. Shiggers will be presenting the next 3 items: the airline schedule analysis, the January 2019 statistics for passengers and cargo, as well as a new service announcement. Larissa?
Good morning. Good morning. First, we'll start off with the changes in the airline schedule for March and a little bit of April. As you can see there, Alaska Airlines and Southwest are adding flights to their existing service. American Airlines, starting April 2nd, is starting the 2 flights, daily round-trip flights to Dallas DFW. With these changes, here are the results. We'll have 46 additional flights per week, about 9,000 additional available seats per week, with a combined total of about 155,000 total available seats per week. Passenger numbers. Traffic was up in January at 8.7%. That's 8.7% over January 2018. The airport saw about 402,000 passengers come through. Alaska numbers are down slightly in January. American Airlines had just over 7% growth for its Phoenix flight. Delta passenger numbers up about 20%. The Boston and New York services continue to boost the JetBlue numbers. Passenger numbers are up about 8% over at Southwest. And numbers for United are down in January. Numerous cancellations happened there because of the bad weather. Also, we talked last month about their sporadic scheduling. While other airlines have a set number of flights to one destination, or destinations each weekday, United typically offers 2 to 5 flights a day, and the schedule changes every week. The load factors up at Alaska, American, and Delta. While the load factors were down at JetBlue and United, Southwest Airlines load factor was flat. Overall, the air carriers offered 44,000 more seats than they did in January of 2018, with more than 32,000 passengers using those available seats. Regionally, the only airports to officially report their January numbers as of this morning are LAX and Orange County. Both of those numbers were basically flat, and we have not seen the official numbers from Ontario and Long Beach yet. Any questions?
Thank you.
Oh, going to, all right, I'll continue on. We just want to recap last week, Spirit Air made an announcement that they will be starting 3 round-trip flights daily, Monday through Sunday, from Burbank to Las Vegas, and those flights begin on June 20th of this year. Last week, we hosted the Vice President of Network Planning for Spirit to make the official announcement. And thanks to those commissioners that were able to attend. And any questions about that new service? Or?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. On item 8, Build America Bureau meeting.
Yes, Commissioner Adams and the Commissioner's staff has been able to obtain an appointment with the Build America Bureau in Washington, D.C. in April, tentatively currently confirmed for April 9th. The purpose of this meeting is to explore a potential for the authority to qualify for credit programs and grant applications through the Build America Bureau, which is the agency within the United States Department of Transportation responsible for transportation infrastructure and providing these grant applications through the coordination of different agencies within the department: the Federal Aviation Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, the Federal Rail Administration, and the Federal Highway Administration. This is all part of their Build America program through infrastructure. There are 2 programs, one called TIFIA, the Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, as well as the Railroad Infrastructure Financing Act. And the purpose for staff there is to present your replacement terminal project to see what opportunities we may have to obtain grants and financing through the federal government at lower rates than market rates.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any closed session?
No, we do not, sir.
Pardon?
No, we do not, sir.
Okay. Are there any commissioner comments? In that time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you very much for coming.